Imagine you find a person so brutally tortured to the point where you don't seem to recognize their appearance, and just wonder to yourself if these are the actions of humans. Alan holds a heavy pain in secret but finds such person in need of urgent help, thrown away like trash. An elf was waiting on God to just kill her and end her misery, but there is something else planned for her. The story starts with someone placing a band-aid on a child's knee, and a gentle voice reassuring the child that everything will be alright. While thanking the man, the child's face brightened up. The man told the child to be careful next time they played and, with a gentle and thankful expression, they left. We meet the protagonist of our story, Mr. Apothecary. He was not there for treatments or anything. Rather, he was looking for ingredients for his medicine, and someone noticed him and called out to him. He was the pawn bazaar owner, and the man asked him for his business, and why he had pulled him over. Without really answering anything, the man called over the apothecary and led him to a room, constantly telling the apothecary that he might want to check this out. The pawn shop owner shared that someone important to him had left him with something very troublesome, and he had no idea how to deal with it on his own. He said all this while making a troubled expression. And as soon as he opened the door to another room, the apothecary's eyes widened to see something so gruesome that it left him speechless and begging for mercy in his heart. A girl lay there, almost dead, empty and hollow. Her elfish ear piercings were repetitive, her eyes had lost their light and the natural instinct to close, and wounds, scars, and bruises were so painful that they indicated a cycle of brutal torture that could have lasted for decades. The pawn owner, with a calm voice, told the man that this elf was used to exhaustion and then discarded. With a stunned expression, the apothecary remained still, and the other man tried to convince him that this elf's body could be used to make several high-end medicines and remedies. And with a finger point, he told him to make his decision regarding her. The apothecary approached the elf and poured magic into his index finger to examine her. The gangrene was still advancing, and the fingers were soft as well. In the torture, all her fingernails had been ripped off. The whip and slash marks on her body had left horrible scars. All her teeth had been pulled out except a few in the back for chewing food, and her left eye was missing as well. Her eyes had lost their responsiveness. While thinking about her condition and who could have done such a thing, he asked if she could hear him, and shakily, her ear started to tremble. This made it clear that she could somewhat hear him to some extent despite the big holes in her ears. But the biggest problem was not the wounds and scars on the outside, it was the organs on the inside. He concluded that there was bound to be severe organ and internal damage, and if he failed to treat her soon, she would die. As he was saying this with a weak and hopeless voice, she muttered, "I want to go home," with a single tear forming in her eye. In rage, the man punched the ground, thinking about the time she had to beg for this wish again and again only to be tortured seconds later. Her voice must have been unheard, and she must have kept saying this forever. The pawn owner kept persisting to sell the girl and started to spew how he could sell her for less than a cow's value, or even a horse. "I don't want her dying in my shop. If you don't want her, I can just sell her to someone else," the owner kept convincing, and with a thunderous scream, the man told him that he would take her. The man asked the owner for a backpack to carry the girl on his back, and the shop owner was surprised to hear that and told him, "You must be insane. You are just going to walk to the other side of the bloody mountain while carrying an almost dead elf that you have never met before." Without answering him, he placed the cloth over her head and, with a gentle voice, told her that he was not going to harm her. "I will make sure to hold you firm." The girl was senseless and mute in this situation. He kept tightening the cloth and made her wear a cover. While he dressed her up, she made no noise or action. It seemed that she had become far too used to being treated as an object that there was no resistance whatsoever. He picked her up on his back and started his long way home. He tried to keep up some conversation with no replies. While walking, he noticed her mutter something, and as he kept climbing the mountain, he thought to himself that soon it would be nightfall and decided to make this place their rest stop, at the top of the mountain. He slowly approached her and told her that he would be removing the cloth, but the girl kept muttering home. He placed his bag and told her that he was going to prepare food. "Wait there!" But the girl was so lost in the breeze, and while the shiny golden ray of the sun fell on her face, Alan the apothecary noticed that her expression had slightly improved since they had left the city. Maybe that was because the elves' main habitat was forest since ancient times. As Alan prepared food, he made sure that it was soft and thin enough so it wouldn't be a problem for her to eat, since all her teeth had been plucked out. This was important. The girl surprisingly sniffed, wondering what was beside her that smelled like this. Alan carefully filled a spoon halfway with food and calmly pointed it near her mouth, telling her to take it slow and steady. As she opened her mouth to eat, she managed to chew it well, surprising him. As he continued and kept feeding her in small bites, he asked if it was good. After finishing her food, Alan wiped her face, and a tear rolled from her cheek. However, in the night, her condition worsened as well. She let out heavy breaths and grunted in pain, lying there sweating heavily. Alan tried hard to identify the problem, but it seemed that the infection from her arm was spreading fast and soon could affect her organs. He quickly rushed to craft something that could be used as symptomatic treatment. He decided to brew something containing antibacterial and antipyretic properties. He mixed the decoction with elderflower and wild borage, additionally adding a crushed magic stone and honey and salt to make it easier to swallow. While lifting her up, he told her not to give up no matter how hard everything was right now and kept hoping for the medicine to work. As she took it, she lay down and calmed down a bit, while muttering weakly, "Where?" As he placed the cloth on her forehead, Alan immediately understood what she meant, and while petting her head, told her that they would surely be able to go home soon. He patted her head and told her that it was okay to rest now. She gradually shut her eyes and went into a sound sleep. Alan reflected on the words that he told her, and thought to himself that everything he said was irresponsible. He did want to help her return, but the condition she was in right now was probably because of his kind. It had been 8 years since all 5 races lived in harmony after the war. Alan added that he thought of these races as gifted people. However, many didn't see it like that, and people like the pawn shop owner existed everywhere, who looked down on other races. And worse, they didn't consider the different races as people. As he was thinking all of this, suddenly hands formed from the ground and started to grab his legs. Alan looked at them with a dead expression and glared at his hands, as these were all the people he had killed in his life, and they now hunted him forever. As he slowly opened his eyes, he noticed that the sun was already up and muttered, "A dream?" As he looked at the girl, her eyes were wide open, and a slight spark was popping in her pupil. Alan gently let out a smile and greeted her while alerting her that he would be picking her up. Even though Alan wasn't sure what he could do and how he could be of any help, he could try to fulfill her wish to go home. And what he could do was treat her so she could return to how she was. And all of this was going to take a great deal of time and effort. Alan clenched his fist and looked at the girl, telling her that she was deeply wounded, and the pain and effort were not only on her body but also on her heart. "I don't know what type of person you were." As he said this, he grabbed her hand and finished by telling her, "I will be giving you a name that is filled with a wish. Resser. As this name says, I will make sure to heal you no matter what, and you will be reborn. I promise." As her eyes remained the same, Alan prepared food and continued their sweet little conversation, and Resser kept staring at him without muttering anything, but in total disbelief. After a long and arduous journey, they finally reached their destination. Alan gently announced, "This is going to be your new home, where you will be living." Inside, he carefully removed the cloth and sat her down on a sofa. With a weak, sad yet hopeful voice, Resser murmured, "Home." Immediately, Alan told her that she needed to take a bath before anything else. Observing her frail, almost naked body, he realized she had no clothes of her own. "I'll be right back," he said, rushing out and knocking on a nearby door. A soft, timid voice from within asked for his identity. Alan introduced himself and explained that he had an urgent request. The door creaked open, revealing a small, adorable child who exclaimed cheerfully, "It's the apothecary uncle!" With a demanding tone, Moan asked Alan if he had brought the sweets he had promised. Apologizing, Alan heard Moan's mother scolding her from behind. Her mother, a tall and attractive woman, apologized for her daughter's spoiled behavior, adding that he must be tired. Alan interrupted her, handing her a basket filled with edibles. Moan's mother found it unusual for him to ask for favors. It turned out Alan was requesting some clean clothes for Resser. However, Moan's mother provided him with some older garments that would be easy to mend if they tore. Alan lowered his head and thanked her for the help. He prepared a hot bath for Resser. Steam rose from the chimney as the bathroom tap filled the tub with desirably warm and refreshing water. Alan carefully removed all the tattered and old clothes, covering her with a piece of fabric to maintain her dignity and avoid startling her. He noticed that as he undressed her, she showed no reaction, sitting there completely emotionless and sorrowful. When Alan saw her back, her slender white figure was completely marred from top to bottom. Each area of her body bore long and brutal scars from whips, left untreated, causing her body to heal them imperfectly, resulting in deep, ingrained marks. This sight broke him down from the inside. As he gently washed her, he trembled, reflecting on how the scars seemed imbued with malice and evil intent. On her neck were finger-shaped imprints, indicating extreme force, most likely from choking. These details ignited Alan's anger, and he questioned who could have been so cruel and merciless. As he carefully removed the bandage from her infected arm, he barely managed to remain calm and composed. Regaining his composure, he began to treat her wounds one by one. Since external wounds were highly dangerous if left unattended for a prolonged period, he applied herb-based ointments to the scars, covering them with Korea's medicine to accelerate the healing process. He also placed pieces of cloth soaked in a viscous fluid on the deeper scars. This treatment needed to be repeated every 3 days. As he gently held her and helped her stand, he decided to dress her properly. He noticed a woman's comb mixed with the clothes, realizing that Moan's mother had likely understood his situation. As he dressed her and arranged her hair, a gentle, calm, and beautiful person emerged, hinting at how she might have looked in the past. Alan reflected on the significant change. As he let out a soft sigh of relief, he remembered that the food was ready, after which he desperately needed sleep. While dressing her, he noticed she was shaking slightly too aggressively, her expression embarrassed. Panicked, Alan asked if she had a fever or if any part of her body hurt, but he realized she must need to use the toilet. He dashed, holding her in his arms, finding it interesting that she had shown no expression or emotion while getting undressed but felt embarrassed about this. Such an attitude seemed almost noble. As he slowly fed her, he concluded that her psychological sensitivity was still intact. Perhaps regularly eating something delicious could aid in opening her heart. This meant he needed to find a solution for her missing teeth. This could help her greatly, but a major problem still lingered: her internal damage. If there was no improvement, amputation was the only viable solution. He briefly considered asking for help from a doctor he knew. Later, he carried her to her room and gently placed her down. With a dozing expression and sleepy eyes, she fell asleep quickly, as if she had finally found peace after the battles she had endured. Alan prayed that there must be something that could heal all her suffering: internal damage, scars, pain, infection, and more. Only a high-end healing potion could achieve that, possessing regenerative capabilities far surpassing anything else. As he thought of all this, he slowly closed his eyes, wondering if elves truly possessed the mythical potion or not. In the morning, Alan fed a letter delivery crow some beans and attached a letter to its back. As the bird flew off carrying the important message, Alan told Resser to hold tight. "I will be in the field." Alan was not just an apothecary but also cultivated many ingredients himself, which saved him considerable effort and resources, given his remote location. As he worked in his field, a gentle breeze refreshed the atmosphere, and Resser sniffed the fresh scent of trees and the forest. Tears welled in her eyes as she silently cried, "The smell of my home!" Alan continued his work, aware of her quiet sobs for her lost home. Later, Moan snuck up on Alan, calling him Uji-san, and opening the door while wearing a bag and casual clothes. As Alan greeted Moan, she looked around eagerly. It turned out she wasn't there for Alan but to see his new patient he had been treating. With a curious tone, Moan asked if she could talk to Resser, and Alan didn't refuse, thinking it crucial for Resser to interact with others. As Moan sat next to Resser, Alan was busy researching something else, related to his earlier thoughts about food and teeth. He had decided to give her a pair of dentures, using old texts and studies. While fixated on the idea of carving boar tusks to form the teeth, Moan called out to Alan, asking why Resser didn't talk. "I have been calling out to her, but she won't reply." With a thoughtful expression, he told Moan that perhaps she was still trying to find a reason to speak. Even though Moan was a child, hearing these words sparked a strange idea in her mind, and with a wide smile, she exited Alan's place. After some time, Moan, with a loud voice, told Alan to look. As he glanced over, he saw Resser looking completely different, with a crown on her head, appearing pretty and modest. Alan, with a gentle expression, told Moan, "You are very skilled, and it's very pretty." Moan's reply shocked Alan as she told him, "Resser will be your bride, right?" Panicked, he waved his hands dismissively, and told her that he was only there to treat her, nothing more. Teasing him, she walked off in a bright and cheerful manner. Alan pondered that such moments were very important for Resser in the long term and could help her heal mentally. As he continued her regular checkup, starting by refreshing her eyes with eye drops, changing the slim fluid-based cloth to aid scar healing, and monitoring her heartbeat, which was sometimes faint, he crafted a perfect set of teeth for her, a replica of the ones that had been plucked out. As he began to replace them all after the surgery, he told Resser to try her new teeth now, and while smiling through his mask, he added, "Today we will celebrate your new teeth." After some time, one of the livestock farmers came to Alan's place and handed him a large piece of meat, likely more than what he had ordered. As he cooked it, the sizzling sound and wonderful aroma enhanced the flavor. He had additionally marinated it in the tender part of a fruit liqueur and made fine cuts so it would be easier to chew. Alan picked a piece of steak and offered it to Resser. As she bit into it, drool overflowed from her mouth, and her ears trembled. With a big smile, Alan fed her more bite-sized chunks of steak, and while sniffing, she ate without stopping. Tears fell from her eyes incessantly. It seemed this was something she would cherish for the rest of her life. Alan smiled and kept feeding her, telling Resser, "Being able to eat makes you happy, Resser." Since that day, there had been slight changes in her sensitivity level, likely a good sign. Soon, there was a possibility she could show other emotions or even talk. There was also a positive change in her appetite. As Alan told Resser, "Today we will have bacon." Suddenly he saw Resser cough blood and fall to the ground with a thud, her expression and condition near death. He quickly picked her up to see what was happening, only to notice strange patterns. Her chest was turning red, she was having severe spasms that made it difficult for her to breathe, and her eyes had turned bloodshot. This was no normal condition. Rather, it was neurotoxin from the obsidian spider. Although the spiders were known for their small size, their venom was considered very powerful and had been used for assassinations since ancient times. As she grunted in intense pain and spasms, he was sure it was connected to her past and that she had perhaps been poisoned by her master. "Damn it, I won't just let her die in front of me," yelled Alan as he started to prepare a medicine. As Alan crafted a temporary fix for the spasms by giving her a mix of ground charcoal to her empty stomach and sent it to counteract the poison, he made her drink the mixture and gently tapped her back to help her expel it. Only seconds later, Resser vomited a mysterious dark pill. Alan picked it up to examine it, seeing that the pill was more like a shell and had been inside her stomach for a while, just now dissolving. He also noticed ancient writing on it, all the text forming curse markings designed solely to kill her slowly and painfully. As Alan crushed the cursed pill, he felt a rush of anger and rage surge within him. The torturers had used methods so cruel as to be unimaginable, ensuring that she would die elsewhere, so no blame would fall on them. Later, Alan asked Moan's mother to come and check on Resser. Moan wept as her best friend became gravely ill. Alan geared up and told both of them to watch over her. He was going to collect the venom of the monster to create an antidote as quickly as possible. They assured him that they would watch over her. Alan added that he would be away for more than 3 days and had written instructions to help her during the time when the poison started to spread and take heavy effect. Shakily, he mustered the courage and told them that, in case her condition worsened significantly and he wasn't there, they should please prepare a proper funeral and burial and take care of her, as he wouldn't be able to handle it all by himself. As Aang grabbed the list and instructions, she noticed that Alan's expression was too pained. She decided to cheer him up by playfully slapping his arm. "It will be fine," she declared. She reassured him that she would do her part, and he must do his, creating the antidote in time so Resser wouldn't suffer anymore. She will also hold on to her life as well. Leave this part to us. As Alan readied himself, he told Resser to wait for him and that he would be back soon with the cure. To make the perfect antidote, there were several things he had to fetch. First, the mandragora root, which resembled a ginseng-type root, elemental converting mama quartz, precious stones, and finally, a sample of the original toxin. As the only way to extract it was by going to the spider's den, he hid his bag nearby, as it was too heavy for him to carry and fight with. Thinking about his old skills, he checked the durability of a long bow, adding that holding a bow still felt very unfamiliar to him. As he walked alone in the dark and hollow cave, a faint light emanating from his index finger, he approached a complex structure of spiderwebs in which mice were trapped. There, Alan's eyes widened as he located the spider itself. As he loaded the bow and pointed it straight, the massive, scaled body of the spider and its haunting eyes came into view. As he was about to take the shot, a sudden thought interrupted his focus. He remembered that while using his power, he could easily kill the spider, but it was the same power he had used to kill countless others before becoming an apothecary. Shaking, he let the string go, and the arrow failed to hit any vital point, glancing off the spider's carapace. With much deliberation, he remembered why he was fighting. Despite his skills getting rusty, he needed to strive and stay sharp for Resser's sake. As he continued to draw and charge his arrow, he used his signature move Aroma and a magic spell appeared on the tip of the arrow. Lightning gilded the projectile, striking right in the center of the spider's head. He followed up with a series of accurate shots, killing the large spider without any serious fight that could have put him at risk. As Alan finally acquired the gland which produced the venom, he looked determined and muttered, "Wait for a little longer, Resser." He carefully crafted the antidote for her, using all the ingredients he had collected. Filling a tooth-shaped syringe, he told Resser, "Sorry for the wait. Soon everything is going to be okay," and injected the counteragent for the poison. That night, Resser's condition slightly improved, and as he monitored her throughout, her breathing was much better compared to before. With relief, Alan was sure that the antidote had worked. Grabbing her hand, he told her, "The worst part has passed, and you are going to be just fine," reassuring both himself and her. Resser's view of life had been nothing but darkness, as everything was always surrounded by dark roots that kept her at the bottom. She would look out toward the sky for any hope or savior, but it seemed she must have been hoping for something like that for a long time, and now she was numb. But as she saw a hand calling out her name, and the hand kept getting bigger, ready to hold everything she was going through, her eye perfectly captured every little detail of it. As she opened her eyes, she was surprised to learn that her eyesight had returned. With a weak voice, she muttered, "Light." This startled Alan as well. As he questioned her, trying to figure out what to say, she began to tear up, hearing Alan's warm greeting and words. He asked if she could see clearly, but she replied, "I can feel that you are there." It seemed that although her eyes could detect light, they were slowly recovering. With a thankful expression, Alan was glad and held her up to examine her further. The movement in her muscles improved slightly. The fever and redness on her chest had gone away as well. The poison's effects had worn off, and lastly, her pupils showed some signs of reaction. As he thought about the different ingredients that must have helped her, he was caught off guard by Resser tearing up. He asked if she was hurt, or if anything was wrong. And she asked, "Resser is my name?" He answered, "Actually, I didn't know your name. I gave you one." If you don't like it, what should I call you? As she tried to recall her name, she told him in a weak voice, I don't remember anything. Alan was sure this was retrograde amnesia. She had lost all her memory. But the real problem now was how they would locate the home of the elves. They were very well hidden, and no one really knew how to approach them. As he pondered this, Resser muttered, Thank you for everything that you have done for me. As he reflected and figured that perhaps he had been a bit pessimistic, he told her that from now on, he would make sure she was fully healed and healthy. And with a calm yet beautiful smile, she acknowledged the fact that this was the new stage of her life.